In 1947, an event occurred in Roswell, New Mexico, that changed the lives of millions of people. According to initial reports, an unidentified object fell to Earth. The first report spoke of a flying saucer from outer space crashing, but later it was amended to a weather balloon. This change raised many questions and theories about the existence of extraterrestrial life on Earth. In recent years, thanks to modern technology and widespread media coverage, numerous unidentified flying objects have been reported all around the world. Is it time for the U.S. government to provide a reasonable explanation for these mysterious reports, or will we continue to live in uncertainty about an advanced civilization far beyond the stars? In this video, we will embark on a journey to uncover the mysteries behind the 1947 Roswell incident and the peculiar disclosures of extraterrestrial bodies in Mexico. Can we find the answer to humanity's greatest question? Are we truly alone in this vast universe? Stay tuned for the truths behind the mysteries we are about to reveal. Extraterrestrial fossils revealed. During a symposium on the topic of extraterrestrial life held in Mexico on September the 12th, two fossilized bodies believed to be extraterrestrial beings were put on display. Both of them had small stature, not resembling humans, and were exhibited in two open containers for everyone to see. These remains were discovered in the city of Cusco in Peru and are estimated to be approximately 1,000 years old. Researcher Jamie Mawson addressed members of the Mexican government and U.S. officials about his recent discoveries. These specimens have been recently examined at the National Autonomous University of Mexico, or UNAM, where scientists were able to extract DNA evidence using radiocarbon dating methods. The published results indicate that both specimens are not part of the evolutionary process on our Earth. These bodies are entirely different from the vague evidence in the 1947 Roswell incident. They are not creatures found after a UFO crash, but rather fossilized in sandstone deposits. The evidence presented unequivocally supports the hypothesis that UFOs indeed exist. The presence of unidentified flying objects has been a subject of media coverage for nearly a century. This is why the United States has never truly opened up about the mysteries related to civilizations beyond Earth. The U.S. government has also started to directly confront numerous questions posed by the public. Evidence of this can be seen in 2020, when the Department of Defense decided to release a series of documentary videos from 2004 until 2015, describing encounters of military pilots with unidentified flying objects, or UFOs. Now, this curiosity has led a group of lawmakers in Washington to discard long-standing taboos in their quest for answers regarding what the government prefers to call, now, unidentified aerial phenomena, or UAP, a term used to shed the cloak of conspiracy associated with the term UFO. Objects classified as UAP not only include extraterrestrial spacecraft, but also encompass a variety of different phenomena such as espionage balloons, weather anomalies, or other devices of advanced foreign powers like China and Russia, which pose a threat to national security. They can also involve space debris, Elon Musk's satellites, or even optical illusions that can create misleading impressions. However, the public is not entirely naive and doesn't blindly trust official statements. However, it is not necessarily illegal to keep certain information confidential. Some facts could potentially surprise and disturb society if they were to be revealed. For instance, this includes the reality of Earth and contemporary societies that exist outside of our world. An excellent illustration of this is the accounts of extraterrestrial encounters that emerged from the Roswell incident in 1947. Unveiling the secrets of the Roswell incident. Most of the documents related to this event have not been widely disclosed. All that the media reported were the assertions by the U.S. Air Force about a spy balloon. However, when the book Interview with an Extraterrestrial appeared in 2008, things began to come to light. Lawrence R. Spencer is an author deeply interested in the mysteries of the universe and the immortality of the soul. Interview with an Extraterrestrial is his 10th book. However, Spencer asserts that he was only the editor of this work, and the content of the book was not written by him, but provided by a former U.S. Air Force nurse who had passed away. It is a record documenting conversations between a surviving extraterrestrial being from a UFO incident in Roswell in 1947 and this woman. The conversations were conducted through spiritual channeling under the supervision of the U.S. military. The publication of Spencer's book can be described as a shocking surprise because it not only details the 6-week process of acquainting with the extraterrestrial from the perspective of a female nurse, but also captures the content of their conversations. These discussions touch upon topics such as prehistoric civilizations, interstellar conflicts, Earth's history, and even subjects like the creation of species, leaving readers astounded and deeply moved. A package from afar. On September 14, 2007, author Spencer received a large package from a distant place. The package came from the remote city of Navan, Ireland, and the sender was Mrs. McElroy. The name seemed quite unfamiliar to Spencer, and he couldn't help but wonder, who could this be? Regardless, Spencer proceeded to open the package and examine its contents. Inside, he found several old manuscripts, some printed on vintage typewriters, others handwritten, and some papers bore clear signs of frequent use. As he skimmed through them, he noticed that the term top secret appeared most frequently in the documents, along with the word Roswell. Now he was even more perplexed, wondering how this woman knew about his interest in the Roswell incident. Like many Americans, Spencer also believed that the Roswell incident was related to extraterrestrial beings. However, he thought that the government had consistently covered up the event, which left the public in a state of uncertainty. In 1998, while writing his book, The Oz Factors, Spencer stumbled upon some clues suggesting that a nurse might have been present at the scene and had contact with extraterrestrial entities. Spencer had to search extensively to find her phone number. After a phone call and a 20-minute conversation, the other party remained evasive, except for admitting that she had served at the New Mexico military base in 1947. She did not provide any valuable information, and Spencer reluctantly hung up the phone. However, after Spencer's book was published, he politely sent her a copy as a gift. They never communicated again, and Spencer quickly moved on and forgot about it. Suddenly, a thought flashed through Spencer's mind. Could this Mrs. McElroy be the person he had been searching for 9 years ago? At that very moment, almost magically, a letter fell out of the package. Spencer picked it up and opened it, and he guessed right. It was indeed the woman. In the letter, she mentioned that time was running out and implored him to publicly reveal the contents of the documents. Towards the end of the letter, she wrote, "Humanity needs to know the answers within these documents. Who are we as a species? Where do we come from? What is the purpose of our presence on Earth? And are we alone in the universe? If extraterrestrial life exists elsewhere locally, why haven't they made contact with us? If we have no effective means to neutralize the pervasive and long-term effects of extraterrestrial influence on Earth, then it is crucial to make everyone understand the potentially destructive consequences they have on our spiritual and physical well-being. The future is of utmost importance. Perhaps the information provided in these documents will serve as a foundation for humanity to strive for a better future. I hope you can, in disseminating this information, present it in a more humorous, creative, and courageous manner than I. Spencer hesitated for a moment. If this were true, it was simply unbelievable. Anything revealed would be explosive news, so he promptly replied to the address on the letter, wanting to speak with the woman again, inquire about the details, and verify the authenticity. Unfortunately, he received a response message from the homeowner stating that the tenant was an elderly couple who had since passed away. Now, the lead had gone cold once more. However, the author still decided to compile and recount the story, simply because the letter written by Mrs. McElroy was profoundly moving. Additionally, Spencer put in considerable effort to research and cross-check the contents of the documents, but he found nothing lacking. Regardless of how it might be perceived, whether as a novel or as fact, he published it for readers to evaluate on their own. Portrait of an Extraterrestrial. In the initial descriptions, the nurse recounted the appearance of the extraterrestrial with a nostalgic tone. She wrote in the letter that, in terms of physical appearance, the guest had a short, petite, and delicate figure, standing at a height equivalent to a 5-year-old child, approximately 1.2 meters, with smooth, grayish skin. In contrast to the small limbs and body of this visitor, the enormous head appeared highly disproportionate. Both the arms and legs had 3 fingers with grasping abilities, but the head lacked a nose, mouth, and ears. The pair of eyes was exceptionally large, entirely black, with transparent lenses lacking white of the eyes and eyelids, so the eyes constantly stared without blinking, and it was impossible to tell if they were asleep or awake. The detailed description of the 3-fingered hand bears a striking resemblance to the 2 recently unveiled fossilized specimens displayed at the conference in Mexico on September the 12th. This was also the first evidence confirming that Earth has been visited by distant celestial beings from a long time ago. The nurse mentioned that over the following 6 weeks, the extraterrestrial did not sleep, as it lacked a mouth, and it did not eat, drink, or breathe. How it sustained life remained a mystery. It was evident that this physique was ill-suited for Earth's gravitational environment, given its delicate nature, with 2 legs lacking muscles to support the entire body, especially the weight of the head. Therefore, the extraterrestrial being would typically sit on a chair. However, its hands and feet were remarkably agile. There were no discernible gender features visible in this body as well. However, the nurse could sense a feminine aura and a strong presence of confidence, and it introduced itself as Errol, so the nurse presumed it to be female. Errol explained that this body was not a machine, nor a biological organism, but a biological entity. It was also a spiritual being, activated by her, much like an avatar controlled by her soul. In most earthly forms of life, having 2 genders is essential. However, there was no certainty that extraterrestrial beings must adhere to the same patterns as us. Throughout their time of interaction, Errol answered many questions regarding herself and the world beyond Earth. The mysterious space fleet. In the handwritten, meandering documents, the nurse recounted Errol's homeland. The visitor came from an ancient and distant spacefaring civilization called the Domain. This society managed countless star systems covering a quarter of the entire physical universe and had existed for trillions of years. Around 10,000 years ago, the expeditionary forces of the Domain began visiting the Milky Way galaxy. Errol was one of the officers with multiple roles, serving as an astronaut and an engineer. Their mission at this time was to investigate the nuclear weapons testing occurring in New Mexico, likely the White Sands Proving Ground, located 117 miles from Roswell. On July the 16th, 1945, the world's first atomic bomb was detonated there. Errol explained that she was a soul. When performing tasks in space, she and her colleagues would inhabit these temporary bodies. These bodies, like avatars, were constructed from materials synthesized by labor, and they would be synchronized with a specific astronaut through a unique electronic wave frequency. The frequency of each type of electronic wave and each body of the avatars was unique, just like the fingerprints of two individuals are never identical. The design principles of the spacecraft and the avatars were highly compatible, allowing astronauts to operate them using mere intention. Therefore, even though there were no complex control devices or navigation systems on the spacecraft, their operation was extremely simple and flexible. However, at that moment, a lightning strike hit the spacecraft, causing an electrical surge. The power loss immediately severed the wireless connection between the spacecraft and the astronaut, much like losing communication between the body and the brain. Eventually, everything crashed down in Roswell, New Mexico. Errol went on to say that she had visited the region of space where Earth had existed for thousands of years. The Earth's native language she was proficient in during her last mission was the Indian language Sanskrit, around 5,965 BCE, which is nearly 8,000 years ago. At that time, the base of the domain in the Himalayan foothills was damaged. All personnel at the base vanished overnight, and the facility was destroyed. The female nurse seemed skeptical about the idea of an unfamiliar guest living for tens of thousands of years. However, Errol stated, "I am certain that all conscious beings are immortal spirits, including humans." Errol referred to the class of sentient beings existing as spirits as Isbi, believing that a spirit is neither born nor dies. Each spirit is absolutely unique and cannot be replicated. According to Errol's account, she has existed for countless years. Millions of years ago, she was trained as a research staff, data evaluator, and programmer in the domain. Because of her technical experience, she became one of the team members sent to Earth to investigate the residents near the base of the Himalayan mountains to find out what had happened. In this way, Errol learned the Sanskrit language. Therefore, many locals reported having seen spacecraft appearing in that area, which they referred to as Vimana. Vimana. Is it a UFO? The three classical Sanskrit books in ancient India, Vedas, Mahabharata, and Ramayana, are all descriptions of Vimana. It was used to refer to ancient Indian supersonic aircraft. For example, the Veda scriptures once detailed Vimana, and some scholars have translated it into modern language as, quote, "a flying machine that quickly traverses space. It contains 12 pillars, 1 wheel, 3 engines, 300 pivots, and 60 instruments," end quote. Does this sound like a modern high-tech aircraft? In an archaeological site in India in 1875, archaeologists discovered a handwritten manuscript titled Vaimanika Sastra, which translates to Aeronautics Encyclopedia in Sanskrit. After examination, it was verified to have been written by Bharadvaja, an ancient Indian sage over 3,000 years ago, and it contains detailed notes about Vimana flying machines. In the contents of this manuscript, there are detailed explanations about the structure of the aircraft, the uniforms, the dietary habits of the pilots, adaptation to the flying environment, as well as descriptions of lightning protection features, stealth capabilities, hurricane resistance, remote monitoring, active camouflage, offensive weaponry, fire resistance, drought resistance, and more. What's even more surprising is that this manuscript also details the construction of 4 different shapes of Vimana, including cone-shaped, bird-shaped, straw-shaped, and cigar-shaped, while explaining that Vimana's propulsion is derived from the sun. In 1959, this manuscript was translated into Hindi, and in 1979, the book was translated into English by J.R. Josier, the principal of the International Sanskrit Research Institute in Mysore, India. If what Errol is saying is true, could the Vimana recorded in ancient India actually be a UFO piloted by extraterrestrial beings? Some archaeological discoveries do seem to suggest this. In 2016, the UK newspaper Daily Mail and Mirror both reported that in 1973, a metallic object shaped like a plowshare with an aluminum content of up to 90% was discovered in Romania. Archaeologists dated it to be approximately 25,000 years old. However, the process of melting aluminum requires extremely high temperatures of several thousand degrees Celsius, and modern aluminum metallurgy only began around 200 years ago. Were there humans 25,000 years ago? And even if there were, how could prehistoric humans have such advanced technological capabilities? What's even more surprising is that some aircraft engineers have suggested that this object could be a landing gear component of an aircraft. Could this be a part of the legendary Vimana aircraft from ancient tales? In reality, modern-day researchers and scientists have begun to explore the possibility that the Vimana could have been an advanced ancient aircraft, thanks to the invention of airplanes and the translation of ancient Indian Sanskrit texts into English. However, whether it was an extraterrestrial spacecraft or an achievement of a prehistoric civilization remains an unanswered question, and no final conclusion has been reached. The mystery surrounding Vimana continues to captivate the imagination of many people today. Ancient nuclear weapons. Errol recounted that the domain had developed time travel technology nearly 8 billion years ago, allowing them to traverse distances of trillions of light years in just one day. They then dispatched their military forces to expand their dominion, conquering other galaxies. The planets they conquered were directly integrated into the domain's map, without the consent or negotiation of the local inhabitants. It appears that the world of this visitor is not much different from our Earth. Galactic-scale wars led to numerous events, such as the extinction of dinosaurs in the Cretaceous period, often attributed to a small asteroid impacting Earth. However, Errol stated that it was the result of the galactic Star Wars. During that time, Earth and nearby planets were bombarded by atomic weapons. The atmospheric radiation and fine dust created by atomic detonations closely resembled the aftermath of volcanic eruptions, with smoke and dust obscuring the sky. Since then, most planets in the region of the Milky Way have turned into uninhabitable wastelands. Scientists have discovered a strange crystalline material in the Earth's geological strata from that era, which could only form under specific conditions of high temperature and pressure, conditions that could not result from an asteroid impact or even a nuclear explosion. What's even more astonishing is the existence of a greenish-yellow crystal in the North African desert region known as the Libyan Desert Glass, which is chemically identical to crystal formations found on nearby sand dunes after nuclear tests. Essentially, this provides evidence of advanced ancient nuclear weapons. In 1945, when the first atomic bomb exploded, Errol and other extraterrestrials were concerned. Based on their experience, when a civilization develops nuclear weapons and doesn't control them properly, it's not far from self-destruction. So, the outlines of the extraterrestrial arrival event have been revealed, but there are still many questions behind these disclosures. For example, why did the extraterrestrials come to Earth? Why have humans never found other civilizations, given the vastness of the universe? This is known as the Fermi paradox. In essence, the universe should be teeming with life, so why haven't we found any evidence yet? To explain this, previous hypotheses suggested that extraterrestrial civilizations became too large and unsustainable and eventually died out. Another hypothesis argued that there simply is no extraterrestrial life at all out there. However, the latest hypothesis suggests that we might still be too insignificant and are in a zoo phase. This means that more advanced species are observing us until we are ready for contact from them. This is also the essence of the latter part of the conversation with the peculiar extraterrestrial. And if you're interested, please subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications to not miss out on any exciting stories coming up. Well, that's all the information we have for you today. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next episode.